So I made the mistake. I said, well, no guts, no glory. I jumped in on that. Lady came across my head and I was out.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and like Robert Kiyosaki says,
you don't have any money because lesson number 1 says the rich don't work for money.
So let's help you get more money with Robert Kiyosaki and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 video with Believe Nation.
Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Use debt.
Most people are afraid of debt. You go home tonight and you say, well, they taught me about using debt. And most people go like this because they don't teach you about money. See, debt is money. After 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. And so the people who are losers are savers. So as Kenny says, you put your money in the bank as a saver, Kenny goes in and borrows it out as a debtor, and we use that money to buy millions of dollars worth of real estate. So Kenny just went over $1 billion worth of real estate using debt. But most people say, well, I can't do that because I don't have any money. You don't have any money because lesson number 1 says the rich don't work for money. So we learn to use debt to create assets. And assets keep putting money in our pocket.
Rule number 2, learn to raise capital.
If you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's going to be the biggest adventure of your life as long as you want to keep learning. But if you just want to make a few bucks, you'll be taxed to death.
Yeah.
That's the S quadrant, ESBI. That's the problem. And as you know, small business loans and all, they don't give you any money. It's hard to raise capital as an S.
Sure.
Crowdfunding and all that stuff, but I'd rather go to Wall Street. I'd rather raise my own capital.
Yeah.
But those are skill sets. So I say to every entrepreneur, look at it as the biggest education plan you'll ever go through. I don't care if you have a college degree or not, but you better learn really quickly, fast, have good people around you, and keep studying.
Rule number 3, make good use of the internet.
In '89, the World Wide Web came up. So exactly as he predicted. So all you young millennials out there and young people, you have the most powerful tool ever created in humanity. The question is, how are you going to use it? You can use an iPhone the way we're doing it right now to educate, to inspire, to teach. Or you can watch porno on it. What's up to you? It's really up to you.
Rule number 4, don't play alone.
It's like soccer and rugby are 2 different games, 2 different types of players. And since my wife's a golfer, I play golf, but I don't enjoy the game. She's fanatical. But she would be an S, self-employed type and all this stuff. She was going to do it on her own. I cannot do my job on my own. I cannot go in the rugby field by myself. And when I go into the field of business, I don't go by myself. Bookkeeper, accountants, attorneys, bankers, and whoever else. And that's how we play the game.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, get rid of ego.
The biggest thing I can say to any entrepreneur is learn. Be an active learner, low ego. It's tough when you're successful. Because when my nylon and vertical surfer bullet business went to the moon, I was crashing down right after it. It was straight to my head.
While the ego was still there, right? Vanity ego was still there, right?
Yeah, it was straight to bed. I thought I walked on water, except there was no water. There was only air below me.
So
I learned the hard way. I don't learn easy.
Rule number 6, have discipline.
If you've served in the military, you'll understand what real courage is. And that was the word I got. I went to military school in New York only because I was such a screwed up kid in Hawaii surfing all the time. And so I needed some discipline. And when I meet people who are not successful, they lack discipline. It's not that they're not smart. They can't, it's not save money. They can't budget money.
Rule number 7, don't make excuses.
The property was a little condominium, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $18,000 US. It was on the beach of Maui. The reason the price was so low is the market had crashed. Smart investors always wait for the crash. So this thing crashed. I had to look at 100 properties once I left the class, 3-day class. I had to look at 100 properties in 90 days and write a 1-page report on each of those properties. As my instructor said to me when I left that 3-day class, I was 26 years old. And the instructor says, your education begins when you leave the class, as your education will begin when you leave this class, not now. So you have a chance to talk to Carlos, you have a chance to talk to Alvaro. Talk to them, find out, learn. Doesn't cost you any money. Change your ideas. So with this here, the instructor said I had to buy the investment for 0 money. Okay? 0 money. Most people will tell you, I can't invest because I don't have money. That's a loser. Please understand this. This was 1974. The dollar had just gone off the gold standard. Everything was coming up fast. So I had to figure out how to buy it for 0. And the reason I say that is most poor people, like Padre Pobre, always says, I can't afford it. I know some of you right now saying, well, I can't afford it. I don't have time. I have children. I have a job. I have bills to pay. And it is those excuses that keep you poor. If you do not change that talk in your head, you'll always be the poor person. So there was about 32 in my class, 3 days long. I think only 3 people completed the exercise. We went and we looked at 100 properties, wrote a 1-page report. At the end of the 90 days and 100 properties, this was the best property. So I went back to the person, and it was in bankruptcy. It was right on the beach, just as pretty as this beach here. And he said I had to have $2,000 down. This is called equity. Again, it's the language of money. So I have equity. The bank was going to lend me $6,000 in debt. Okay? That was the deal. Now I had the $2,000 in cash, but the name of the game or the exercise was, could I buy it for 0? So what I did was I paid for this property with a credit card. So now it was $100% debt. Okay. With that 100% debt, I made $25,000 a month. Boom. I was a free human being. I never needed money again. If you can make money with no money, that is called an infinite return. Because I have no money in the deal.
Rule number 8, surround yourself with wise people.
The most important thing for these people right now is choose your teachers wisely. And I commend you for attempting to help people. And so if I could leave anything to you, the people that are listening to you right now, commendable. They're looking for answers. But it comes back down to who are your 5 friends, and are you happy with them? Or is it time to move on?
Rule number 9, be brave.
And our job is to be wartime leaders. And be brave, be courageous, get our skills up, get our entrepreneurial skills up, learn to sell, learn to communicate. Don't learn, my problem, Patrick, is I infuriate people because I attack them. Being a Marine is not bright because I like to fight. And that's why I had to go to military school to discipline myself. So that's, if any of you out there, have young people, I have a lot of friends whose sons are wimps. They're just wimps. They're sitting at home sucking their thumb. And then now that they lost their job, they want to go back and get a job. Or exactly as you said, they'll make more sitting at home sucking their thumb. And we've lost another generation there. So it really is time to be a wartime leader.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is have fun.
Taekwondo is all forms, legs, kicking. So I stuck that on my back of my head. So I went to watch the Rock Marines train when these guys, they have no feelings. They're just tough.
They make great entrepreneurs, though, no?
Yeah. They're nasty. They're not good guys, but they're tough. They just go in. So I came back to the States and I took up Taekwondo. And I still suck at it, but I took it up. And
you have a black belt, Rob. Come on.
Yeah. Well, American black belt versus, you know what I mean?
I see.
There's a difference between an American black belt in Taekwondo and a Korean black belt in Taekwondo, So I got over there and I fight for America.
Good for you, though. That's amazing that you did that.
I got my butt handed. Well, let me explain to you. I was a heavyweight, which means I was fat in America. In Korea, they're tall and skinny like you.
Yeah.
And Koreans, and Taekwondo is about the legs, really. They could, it's called a chiki or the hammer. They could lift the leg straight over their heads. And they stand there on one leg and they just watch you. So imagine the guy, he looks like this leg in the air.
Yeah.
And I'm this little fat guy trying to come up. How do I find an opening?
Yeah.
So I
you're like, you can barely get up here.
I can't lift my legs. Yeah. So I get into the ring. I said, this is not fair, but he's a heavyweight, but he's a skinny heavyweight.
Right, but his legs are like...
No, he's tall. He was like 6'4". His legs were probably 8 feet high. And I don't know how high he was up in the air. I couldn't come in on him. So I made the mistake. I said, well, no guts, no glory. I jumped in on him. That leg came across my head and I was out.
You say that, Robert, that gold is going to crash in this, is along with the equities, along with everything else. So how does one protect one's assets if this crash that you're predicting does indeed happen? If you're saying that gold's going down with it too?
Well, because I bought gold when it was $350 an ounce. You see, every professional investor knows it's not when you sell, it's when you buy. So I bought Bitcoin at 6,000 and 7,000. So I'm just saying, I'm a pure capitalist. When markets crash, it's the best time to get rich.
I don't know what the heck people think about money, but that's what I get a lot of is kind of this, money's not spiritual. I'm just saying it's your attitudes, a person's attitude towards money. I make a lot of money, but I give a lot. You know what I mean? It goes to biblical principle, the more you give, the more you receive. So when I meet somebody who's doesn't have any money, it just means they're not giving something. Yeah. So a lot of times there's people who would like more, but they're not giving anything. Yeah. So they're like my poor dad. He belonged to the labor unions and he wanted to work less and get paid more. Well, that's anti-religious to me. Yeah. If you want to get paid more, work more, give more. That's how I see it. The thing is, you see, when people, economies go up, economies go down, we might go into a depression worldwide. Like I said, France is in very big trouble. Germany's okay. England's in big trouble. China's in trouble. So if we go we go to a worldwide depression, and it might take 10 years, to come out of it. But during these times, is the best time. I have made more money in the last 3 years than ever before in my life. You know, I bought five golf courses last year out of bankruptcy.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, the bank.
Courses.
Yeah, Donald bought 10. They're giving them away.
No one told me.
Yeah, but you have to know how to operate them. You know,
Yeah.
you have to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So the banks just call you up and they say that there was 5 golf courses and 1 hotel.
In the States?
In Arizona, yeah, Golf Mecca, you know. And this Japanese company had it, and they asked me if I wanted to buy it about 5 years ago for $260 million. And I said, does it make sense? You know, it doesn't make sense at $260 million. So they told me I didn't know what I was doing. They said, okay, buy. And then this 1 year ago, this summer, the Citibank called up and says, you want those golf courses? And they gave me the money to buy them. Most successful entrepreneurs have gone bust, right? Yeah. You know, Henry Ford, an old-time entrepreneur, he went bust 5 times. Okay, look at Steve Jobs.
Yep.
His own board fired him.
Yep.
You know, Bill Gates was taken before the Supreme Court for monopolistic practices.
Right.
Even my friend Donald Trump went down $1 billion.
Yeah.
I only went down $1 million. So the average person is so afraid of those losses, they never get ahead. Because at school they teach you if you make a mistake or if you fail, you're a failure. But that's not real life. A baby learns to walk by standing up and falling down, standing up and falling down. And our school system punishes you for making mistakes. That's why my poor dad, an academic, was so unsuccessful. He was terrified of making mistakes.
You wake up tomorrow morning and you're on the street and you have nothing. You don't have a single contact in your network. All you have is the knowledge and experience that you've had throughout your career. How do you build up from there?
Well, I've been there many times. So it's no big deal. You just figure out what's needed and wanted and you go do it. You know, people always kind of dump on, fast food industry. If I had to do it again, I'd go work for McDonald's. And the reason I go work for McDonald's, you know, whether it's $7 an hour or 15, I don't really care. I don't really like McDonald's food, but they have the best business systems in the world. You know, how else can a company take virtually non-college educated people and build a fast food industry across the world? And they have the best system. So right inside little McDonald's, you can learn everything you need to learn about business except for the management side of it. So I just go work at McDonald's so I can learn even more. So I look at life as learning. I'm constantly learning. You know, I'm reading constantly, studying constantly. I spend most of my time with entrepreneurs. I don't spend my time with people who complain about the economy, you know. So nothing will really change. I just go back to being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs have one thing in common. They keep going. They'll change the rules. They'll reinvent the rules. You know, they don't just take one answer. So a real entrepreneur, it really makes no difference which country you're in. That's my belief. I
love that.
You know what I mean? It's just a mindset. You know, it's F you. You mess with me, I'll find a way around it. You know, I have a friend, he's multi-family rich guy from France. And, you know, France is as communistic as it gets.
75% top line for $1 million earners.
Yeah, but that's why he lives here. So he started buying vineyards in Napa and Sonoma. So he went back to the French government and he says, it's his wine. He says, I want to ship my wine in bulk to California. And the government says, you can't do that. So
this
what?
Is the French government saying you can't ship.
Yeah, and here's a guy, I think he's 5 generations, you know, French wine guy. This guy is an entrepreneur. He says, okay, I can't ship him in barrels. The guy goes, yeah. He says, okay, I'll ship him in bottles. So he bottled all of his stuff. It cost him more money, but he still figured out how to do it. Do you know what I mean? And now he has his wine with his California wine and all this.
And so he went back to the French government and said, here, try this, see if it's not better. And so now they're all confused because he didn't break any rules. So I'll say it again. Entrepreneur is a mindset first, a skill set, and rules. And depending upon whether you're an employee or a small business, the rules are different. The mindsets are different. I am very shy. Very, very shy. You know, I came back from Vietnam and I could kill people, but I couldn't talk to people. And one day I said to when I decided to follow my rich dad's footsteps, I just said to him, I want to be an entrepreneur. He says, you got one problem. I said, what's that? I said, you're shy. I said, what's wrong with being shy? He says, you got to sell. You got to handle rejection. Number one skill. Can you handle rejection? Answer is no, I couldn't handle it. So I said, I still want to learn how to sell. So this was in 1973, I was 25 years old. And my rich dad said, how's your love life? I said, it sucks. He said, you getting laid? I said, no. He says, because you can't sell. Guys got it? So when I talk about what skill do you need, when the shit hits the fan, you better start selling. So I went to work for Xerox in 1974 so I could learn how to sell. It took me 4 years. Then I was number one. Okay? And today I'm a best-selling author. You know, most PhDs tell me I can't write. Yes, I said I can't write, but I can sell. If you can't sell, you don't make money, period. End of statement. You know, just because you have a product doesn't mean jack. But the important thing is you start. You know, I don't care what product you start with, but you start. You know, I started off with nylon wallets. Success wiped me out. You know, we couldn't sell, and all of a sudden it took off. Then I couldn't finance because the sales kept going through the roof. Now, trouble is I kept borrowing and I couldn't sustain the sales. Next lesson. But that's how we learn. I'm one of those kids that don't like school. You know, school is good for people who like school. But here was my poor dad, head of education, PhD, on the governor's board of Hawaii and all this stuff, and his kid, me, and I'm flunking out of school because I can't read, I can't write. And I said I couldn't read, I couldn't write. I was bored out of my mind, you know. I was just, hey. So what I did instead was that's when I met my rich dad, who was my best friend's father, and he used these things called a game. See, games are the best teaching tools. See, when I'm playing this game, this is how the rich taught their kids battle strategies called chess. My rich dad taught me to be a rich man playing Monopoly. We played Monopoly hour after hour after hour. You know, the formula for great wealth of Monopoly is 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. So today in Arizona, I own 8,000 greenhouses and several red hotels. I just play Monopoly for real. So that's the power of a game, because a game engages me mentally, physically, because I actually have to move things, emotionally, because when somebody knocks me out, I better wake up. You know, I made a mistake. And spiritually, because it's spirit that wins. You know, if you just saw Golden State play the you know, everybody's, I mean, I love LeBron James, I love Cleveland, you know, but one guy cannot take on a team. And I think LeBron scored 60% of all the points in assists and all that, but a better team beat him. So when you look at business is the same thing. Business is a team sport. I have to have good accountants, good attorneys, good marketing guys, good tech guys, great staff. I have to have great leaders, you know. The trouble with most entrepreneurs are self-employed. So they quit their job. And you know, in America today, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, says there's 28 million small business owners. 28 million. 24 million are classified as non-employers. Remember, they're a one-man team. You know, they'd be like, this guy said, okay, I'm going to take you on. Are you crazy? But that's what most entrepreneurs are trying to do. Because that's what they're taught to do in school, to be the rugged individual. You know, in school, I was very successful as long as I could cooperate at test time. But in school, cooperation at test time is called cheating. In the real world, the guys that have the biggest team win. So all I focus on is putting the best team together. Meanwhile, a lot of the time, the A students in school, the doctors and lawyers, they're sitting there all by themselves. They're sitting ducks, but they're entrepreneurs. Do you know what I mean? It's just a mindset, tactics, strategy. I went to military school. I'm a former Marine. So I think like a military operation, which I love chess. So most entrepreneurs, you know, they have this job and they go, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And this guy's just massacre them.
That's very good.
Because they went to school, they learned to get a job, and they take tests on their own. They have to be the smartest. That's like the LeBron James. I don't want to be the smartest guy on my team, but I want to have the best team. Mm-hmm. And that's why I win most of my games.
That's great.
I think like this, and the doctors think like this. I'm going, yeah, I got you, man. For some reason, I get this sense I'm going to win.
If you did not have the rich dad in your life, what would you be doing today?
It's hard to say if I didn't have my rich dad, because as a young kid, starting at probably about the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I really wanted to be rich. So I think number one is desire, you know, and then you naturally seek your role models and teachers. And in my lifetime, I've had multiple rich dads. You know, my rich dad was my best friend's father starting at the age of 9. And then today, I still seek mentors and wise men and wise women, because that's how you get wiser, is by hanging out with smart people. My last paycheck, I still remember it clearly. It was one of the worst and the best days of my life. And I was in Puerto Rico. I was working for Xerox, and my boss gave me my last, it wasn't a paycheck, it was a bonus check. I think it was about $30,000 taxable. It's the only problem with that. So I got this check and I went, holy mackerel. You know what I mean? So I was excited, but I was also disturbed. And so this other guy comes up to me, his name was John, and John says to me, he says, you're going to be back. I said, why? He says, because you're going to fail. I looked at him and said, look, few expletive words, because that's what he did. He left Xerox, failed, and he came back. And I said, look, you failed and you came back, but I'm going to fail and I'm never coming back. And that's the attitude. Do you know what I mean? If you say, well, if I fail, I'll go back to mommy and daddy, then that's what you'll do. So if you fail, that's when I became an entrepreneur, because I had no money. I had no money for years. You know, I didn't have a paycheck. But that's what my rich dad encouraged me to do. He says, when you don't have this paycheck, you get hungrier, smarter, and it's a test of your character. Will you become a crook? Will you become dishonest? Will you cheat and steal? Or will you become a better human being? So really, that's the benefit of becoming an entrepreneur, is you really find out who you are when you don't have anything. If you're an entrepreneur and you're going to be a big entrepreneur, leadership skills and communication skills are more important than a law degree. So now I have another book that just came out. It's called The 8 Lessons in Military Leadership. In the military, I went to military academy and all that. From day one, you're learning leadership. You know, day one at the academy, I have to stand in front of 20, 18-year-old kids and go, section 10, hut. And naturally, they're going to say, screw you, you know. So that's when you learn to be a leader. Now, as you said to me when we first met, the trouble with the military, you got a little rough. So I had a hard time when I came back from Vietnam, and I went to work for Xerox, and, you know, people didn't like the idea of calling them an asshole and a f***head, you know, stuff like that.
Every other word is a curse word in the military.
Yeah, hey, f***head, you know, do this. You know, but they don't, I'm going to call my HR person. I better make some changes here. You know what I'm talking about?
Of course I know.
You can't talk straight in corporate America.
In the military, you can. It's
you have to.
Yeah, you have
they love it.
Yeah.
You know,
you actually get promotions if you do in the military.
Well, when I got called names, I said, oh, the guy likes me. So that's why for all you guys who are military veterans, you know, you have probably the number one skill to be an entrepreneur, which is leadership, the ability to listen, to not take it personally, and still get the job done. It is the best training in the world. You know, The saddest thing about leaving the military was leaving the guys behind there. They were some of the best in the world, and they weren't all college graduates. They were just my gunners, my mechanics, all this stuff.
Camaraderie's priceless.
Oh, Jesus, priceless.
Camaraderie's priceless.
And so all I did when I started the Rich Dad Company was to have that same sense of teamwork inside Rich Dad. That's why there's no ranks and all this stuff in this company. Everybody gets to say what they want to say. People are free to do what they want. I stay out of their way, and we get the job done. The Midas Touch is 5 things you must remember. Number 1 is the thumb, which is strength of character. You fail, stand up, don't lie, don't cheat, don't just stand up, own it, keep going on. Strength. This is focus. The index finger. This is where I'm going. And I talk about how I went to flight school, preparing to fly in Vietnam. People are shooting at you. You still got to stay focused on your target, even if you get killed in the process. This one everybody knows. This is what you stand for. So Donald stands for the absolute wealth, and what I stand for is very simple: financial education. Keep it simple. Teach people to manage their money. So I stand for that, and I don't ever get off that track. The ring finger is for relationships. If somebody is struggling financially, be it a company, a country, or marriage, it's because you have a bad relationship. And the thing that Donald and I always say is that you can't do a good deal with a bad partner. And God knows I've had some bad partners. And they're just incompetent, but they want to pretend they're smart. And then the little one is a little finger. Every entrepreneur must do something that nobody else does. For example, in the United States, Walmart, their whole system of business is designed to give you the lowest price possible. Everything. Whereas a little mom and pop store, they'll say, well, we put things on sale. That's not the same thing. FedEx says overnight. That was their whole thing. They built the whole company around that little promise. Domino's Pizza in America was pizza in less than 30 minutes. So the entire business was built around one simple little promise. And those are the things that make entrepreneurs extremely rich or extremely poor if they don't have those 5.
Is there a time to bail out on a project, though? I mean, when...
I don't that's not in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
Look, I have an unfair advantage, I went to war. And at war, I'm alive because other guys died for me. When you see stuff like that, how can I quit? Most guys are just wimps, pussies, cowards. They don't have it. So they should get a job. I always say the number 1 skill of an entrepreneur is the ability to sell or communicate. Number 1. Because sales equals income. So if your sales are down, your income's down. But it's not just selling your customer, you got to sell your employees. That's really tough, And then next is selling my investors. So I'm selling investors, I'm selling employees, I'm selling customers, and I'm selling myself. I got to talk myself into, I don't have the pleasure of being down. Entrepreneurs have got to be up. Because if you're down, your employees know it, your customers know it, the market knows it. So number 1 is sales. But when you look at the big picture, there's 3 things an entrepreneur must learn. Number 1 is PR. And what you're talking about is PR. The other day, Fox News interviewed me to find out if I would endorse my friend Donald Trump for president. You know how much that's worth? They co-branded us. Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, and Trump. That's incredibly priceless. So getting PR is a number 1 skill. Under that is marketing. And what marketing does is like advertising. They want to set the customer up to get ready to buy. Oh yeah, I saw that Kia ad. I want to buy a Kia. I want to buy some land, I want to buy this. So the customer is now primed to buy. That's marketing's job. Then the last thing is a sale. So if you've done a really good job on PR, then you've done a great job on marketing. The sale is like that. They walk in, they buy. But if you have no PR and you have no marketing, you have to pound, hard close. Well, Mr. Customer, today's changing business environment. You should buy my insurance and all. And people today hate sales pitches more than ever before. So the number 1 sales job of a true entrepreneur is to develop your ability to get PR. Most entrepreneurs are not good at sales. They're horrible at marketing. They have no idea what it is, and they can't get any PR. And so they struggle. And again, sales equals income, so they crash. If you want to stay small, be the smartest guy on the block. And that's why most accountants, most attorneys, most doctors never get rich. It's because they're too narrow. You know, they're experts in toenail removal or something, you know what I mean? Or my attorney, that poor guy is an A student, but he knows jack about outside of that. Whereas I never had, I flunked out high school twice because I can't write. It's irony that I'm a writer today. But the reason I'm pretty good is because in the military, we're taught to be generalists, not specialists. So when I sit down with my team, I have accountants, I have attorneys, I have media guys, I have IT guys, I have graphic designers and all this. So I operate as a team, since I don't know anything. So in actuality, being a great entrepreneur means I could be the laziest guy and I can know the least. But I have to have a very smart team with just a ring finger around me. So because I was never smart, I had respect for people who are smart. And a lot of times I meet A students and they think they're the smartest guys on planet Earth. And that lack of respect is what keeps them small. And that's what most corporate guys want to do. Stay small, you know, you gotta climb that corporate ladder, you gotta beat the other guys for the job, and it's all that stuff. It's not the way an entrepreneur really works. It's corporate. It's school system. You know, you gotta beat out for the grades, you gotta have the best grades. I don't have to be the best, but I have to hang out with the best.
What's your philosophy when it comes to human resources? How do you get the right people, and then how do you keep the right people?
It's the most important part of business. You know, that's why I went to military school. Then I was a Marine Corps. The reason when I talk to military veterans, you probably have the most important skill of all, because all we're trained to do, whether you're a general or a private, you're taught to be leaders. It is a number one skill of an entrepreneur is people skills and leadership skills. And unfortunately, most people don't have it coming into. So when I do my talks to veterans and all this stuff, I really want to encourage them, you know, because they're pretty depressed because they can't get it, you know, they're a Walmart greeter, which is a good job. But they're afraid to take the leap into entrepreneurship. So, but military guys, I don't care what branch of service, just by the indoctrination process and the survival rate, whether you go to combat or not, is that you learn leadership skills, people skills. You've got to have that. You know, whether you're a team of one, you still have to deal with your customers, and the good customers, bad customers, lawsuits, taxes, government regulations, and all this. They're all people skills. You know, so when somebody says to me, what do I need to learn? I said, boy, you'd better learn how to communicate pretty quickly to people you don't like and get them on your side. You know, how to win friends and influence people. Basic book. The number one skill of an entrepreneur is people skills. What's what Bucky Fuller said? You must trust your intuition. You know, and it's called your gut feeling a lot of the times. And scientists have just recently found out there's actually brain material in your gut. That's why you get a bad feeling. And that's kind of where intuition comes from. It's more from your gut rather than your brain. And my intuition kind of changed because I went to Vietnam twice. I was a good Marine, U.S. Marine pilot and all this. I was doing it for God, country, and America, you know, all this stuff. And one day I was standing on the battlefield in 1972 and I said, what am I doing here? You know, why am I killing these people? I don't hate them, they don't hate me. And that's when my life, you know, you start waking up as you grow older. So I learned to trust my intuition and say what I had to say. Like this book is about the future also. Fuller was a futurist. So for me to write Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 1997, nearly 20 years ago, was about the future. It wasn't about 1997. I always say to people, it's your mental skills, how do you control your thoughts, emotion, because you know, I have a bad temper. When I lose my temper, nobody likes me. So emotion. And then it's physical skills. If I look like, you know, a bag of dirt and I'm not strong, people pick up on that. Health is important, all that. And then spiritual. You know, I don't cheat on my wife. I don't cheat on my customers. I don't cheat people. I don't cut corners. If I can't do something, I'll tell you up front. If I screw up, I'll tell you. Do you know what I mean? I mean, as you and I know, there's a lot of scum out there who are entrepreneurs. But they have bad personal skills. They have bad responsibility skills. They're not legal, ethical, moral, and spiritual. I always ask people, what did you learn about money in school? And for the answer for most people is nothing.
Well, I'll learn economics, balance a checkbook, but that's really not money. And the reason they don't learn about money is because the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is my poor dad was a PhD, which stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. No, he's a good man. But as you know, they don't learn much about money. And so my father knew nothing about money.
Is your advice to other entrepreneurs to be searching for a big break? And if so, what's your advice on how for them to position themselves in the best way to increase the chances to get a big break?
Well, again, I say that minus stuff, you gotta have 5 things going for you. And when you're prepared, it happens. But if you're not prepared, it doesn't happen. For example, I was out here in Aussie when Oprah called. I didn't start preparing when she called, I was prepared when she called. And my wife calls up and says, hey, Oprah called. I go, so what? She says, well, she wants you on the program. I go, so what? Because, real men don't watch Oprah. Popes watch Oprah, not me. You know what I mean? I don't watch Oprah. I didn't know who she was. So my wife says, get your butt home now. So I fly all the way from the bush, way inland from Brisbane, to Phoenix, to Chicago, and I'm sitting on Oprah. It's too late to practice. But I have done so many PR stunts, stuff like this here. I've practiced. And so when the lights went on, I went, oh my God, this is it. It's too late to practice. And I learned that in the military as a pilot in Vietnam. I don't say, well, I should have studied a little harder before I got to Vietnam. You got to practice. Because when that little Viet Cong was shooting at me, there's only one guy going home that day, him or me. And that is too late to practice. And what happens for most entrepreneurs is they don't have the skills. They don't practice enough. There's a very good book called Outliers, The Story of Success. I think it's the best book for entrepreneurs because it talks how the Beatles became the Beatles. They played more than any other band in history. They played almost for free in Frankfurt or Hamburg, wherever they were. And the average person doesn't practice enough. If you're going to be a real entrepreneur, you have to be a lifelong learner. I am studying, learning constantly. I never stop. And that's my competitive advantage. But also my core advisor team, we never stop together. I have my accountants, my attorneys, my bankers and all that, we study together. That's what we do when we get together. We don't play golf, we don't drink beer, we study. Because study is the way you win. But you have to know what you're studying, because what you put in here, garbage in, garbage out, right? The other thing you have to be careful is who's your teacher, who's your mentor. I took golf lessons once at the Biltmore, and it was the most horrible golf lesson I ever had. Because that was a golfer, the teacher and I just did not get along. So they brought a new golf instructor in, and I learned to love the game again. You know what I mean? So as an entrepreneur, be very careful who your teacher is, because they can either kill your spirit or increase your spirit. A good teacher will inspire you to learn more. A bad teacher will tell you you're stupid and you should study more. Most of your viewers out there sitting inside their head are the words from their mother and father. Go to school, get a job, pay taxes, save money, buy a house because it's an asset, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. That creates poor people. It's a hypnosis train going through your brain. So when people say, how do I change my life? Well, you change those words. I wouldn't go to school because you learn nothing about money in school. I wouldn't get a job because if I have a job, I'm an employee. And then I'd pay taxes. And I don't pay taxes. And I don't save money. And I use debt to get rich. And I don't invest in the stock market. That's why I'm rich. And so the young people who are listening right now are saying, but that's what my mom and dad said. But that's what mom and dad say all over the world. So to the young people, I just say challenge or question what you've been taught. Because from the Bible, I'm not religious, the word becomes flesh. So if you say, go to school, and you say, but I learned nothing about money. Get a job, you become an employee. If you're an employee, you work for money, I pay taxes. Then they tell you to save money. Why would you save money when the government's printing money? And get out of debt. Well,
debt is money. I use debt to get rich. Most people use debt to get poor and invest in the stock market. I don't invest in the stock market. So when you wonder why so many people struggle financially, is they haven't challenged the hypnosis, the words, go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay taxes. Until you question those hypnotic trances, you don't change. Question I ask you is, are you following the herd? You know, the herd generally goes off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. You know, how many are doing what your mommy and daddy told you what to do? Go to school, get a job, invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. Is that what you're doing? Are you hoping that the next person elected, whether it's President Trump or one of the other candidates, will save the economy? Well, we have a very important show for people like you, because this program is about, you have to do the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. Because if you keep doing what everybody's doing, I'm afraid everybody's going to go off the cliff. And that cliff is not too far away right now. What I found out, the accountants and attorneys who went to the biggest schools are not the best. I have found what I'm looking for is somebody who may be a private guy who is passionate about entrepreneurship. So they're a great attorney for entrepreneurs. You know, they're not, most attorneys are looking for the big client, like I want to work for, General Electric. What I want is the attorney and the accountant who are passionate about it being entrepreneurs. So my guys right here in Phoenix are entrepreneurs, and my accountants are entrepreneurs. Every time I hired the big name corporate and law accounting firms, I have been grossly overpaid and underserved because they're so used to doing bigger things, they don't have time for a little guy like me. It's the same with bankers. I'm looking for a banker who loves being an entrepreneur. You got to have this partnership with the banker. I dump on the financial services industry a lot, and they deserve to be dumped on, but you got to have one on your team, So my banker is the love of my life. The biggest thing for most young people is that our schools teach us to be ICs, independent contractors.
Okay.
Or self-employed, or even if you're an employee, you're still an independent contractor who has a job. And you do it by yourself. I think much of the young world is in the selfie world. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Whereas in my world, it's a team sport. I'm a rugby player. I go on the field with a team, toughest, meanest guys I know. And so you could be the A student from Princeton, but I go on this field with 15 tough men, kick your ass. And so the average guy is coming out there, I got an A, I went to Princeton, I went to Harvard, and the corporate America comes out and they go, boom. So that's why when I talk to young people, I say, look, it's a team sport. So the first person I have is a bookkeeper. Bookkeeper is the lowest paid person on my team, but the most important.
Right.
The bookkeeper then keeps the accurate records that my accountant can use, and my attorney can use, and my banker can use. That's the combination there. And my banker, my attorney, and my accountant must work together as a team. Most people, their bankers, accountants, and attorneys don't work together as teams. Because in school, we're taught to take our tests on our own. If you ask for help, you're cheating. In my world, it's called cooperation. And what I found with most smart people, they don't know how to cooperate. They don't know how to ask for help. Because in their brains, that's cheating. It means you're stupid. It means you're weak. It means you're stupid. One of the things I stress here at Rich Dad, which I didn't do for much of the time, was because once Kim and I had enough money, the question is, what do you do next? And if Kim and I had continued to work for money, I think I would have died. So when Kim retired, she was 37 and I was 47. But just as we said on this with Vante, it's one of your primary objectives, especially today, is when do you plan to retire? because, the idea of having a job and waiting for your 401k or your stock market to save you, I think you're going to be sadly disappointed, because what I'm foreseeing is a massive crash coming. It's going to wipe out a lot of people. And I'm coming out with a new book called Who Stole My Pension? And all these guys who think their pension is safe, I think Wall Street has other ideas on their pension here. So when I say to young people like you guys, I said, plan your retirement the day you start working. When do you escape from the rat race? That's the cash flow game. Well, as we know, there's fewer and fewer jobs. American corporations say they're hiring, but they're not hiring in America, they're hiring overseas. But more than that is that the reason I endorse network marketing is most people are addicted to the paycheck. And the paycheck is one of the most sinister plots ever pulled upon a human being. If you need a paycheck, you've sold your soul. You sold your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotions. You sit there in fear of losing your job, or can I get a raise, or, will I get promoted? And then why would you do that? Another thing about the reason we endorse network marketing, we don't think of it as a network marketing, we think of it as entrepreneur development. Because if you need a paycheck, this is not your business. We build businesses. So sometimes when Kim and I do a deal, we may not receive a paycheck for 5-6 years. And so these guys come, am I going to get rich quick? And some people do. I don't know if you do or not. But that is an employee, get rich, loser mindset. And so the thing that network marketing does is really kind of cure you of that loser paycheck, get rich quick mentality, and actually build a business. We build businesses, and that's how we're rich. But we didn't get rich quick, and I don't need a paycheck, and I never want a paycheck. So that's kind of a revolutionary thought to most people up there who went to school to get good grades and get a job, and then you get a high-paying job, and the higher-paying job, you pay higher taxes, and you wonder why you never get ahead. That's because you went to school to get a job and a paycheck. You've got to get away from the paycheck, and sometimes it might take 2-3 years to get away from that. A big part of what makes a company successful is whether or not they have a brand, B-R-A-N-D, almost misspelled it. Okay? And brand, people think, well, it's the communication, But a brand is more than that. The reason Rich Dad is so valuable right now is because it is an internationally known brand, the same way as Trump is known as a brand. And the real question on a brand is not just communication. See, a brand makes it easier to sell. When somebody says Rich Dad, they go, oh, I think I heard of that, or I know what the guy stands for and all this. So what a brand really is the entire BI triangle. If you're going to create a brand, especially in a world that's overcrowded with advertising, communication, the webs, iPods, print, blogs, there's so much competition now for a person's time. It really is more important that you become a brand. So there's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Ferrari, you get a picture of something in your mind. It's a whole body effect. But if I said Hyundai or Kia, car, they're probably just as good a car, but you get a whole different emotional effect just by the brand name. So I'm not saying Hyundais are better or worse than a Ferrari, but I'll pay more for a Ferrari than I will for a Hyundai. I don't own a Hyundai, by the way. I own a Ferrari. What does it mean? It's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Apple, some people think of computers and some people think of red apple. But for the guys like me I'm an Apple fanatic, the brand means a lot to me. I love Steve Jobs. He's one of the best entrepreneurs in the world right now. And if I say the word Marine Corps is a brand. It communicates everything, the mission, the team, the leadership, the style, the message. The Marines have a saying, we're only looking for a few good men and women. That means we just don't want to be like the Army. We have to position ourselves away from the Army, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, and the Navy. So brands are so vitally important as a communication tool, especially in today's over-communicated to world. There are more people competing for your customer's mind, their time. How many blogs can you read? How many magazines can you read? How many television sets can you read? How many
games can you play and all this. So today, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it becomes more and more important that you become a brand. There are people who want to go into real estate, but they have the negative Midas touch. Everything they touch turns to shit. You know, it doesn't turn to gold. And they, no matter what piece of real estate or no matter what stock they go into, they have a loser's mentality. And that's why I don't hang out with losers. Well, I'm a good, hard-working person. I say, I know, but you're a laborer. You're not an investor. You don't understand me. But I'm a good person. I go to church every Sunday. I work hard. I say, yeah, but you're still a loser. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Does that make sense, you guys here? You're a loser. You're a financial loser. That's what it means. It doesn't mean I don't want a bad partner.
I only became an entrepreneur because it was the greatest challenge I could take on as far as my personal education, personal development.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to make money, you know, and as I said, my first business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business, and the mistake I made, I was successful. And we grew internationally so fast, I just couldn't finance my success. And so I started borrowing money, and which was good. I started to learn how to raise capital. I learned how to negotiating, the reason I was in Korea fighting Taekwondo was I was out there negotiating anyway for production because we were manufacturing in Hawaii where the cost of manufacturing was too high.
Sure.
So I had to fly to Korea and Taiwan to negotiate manufacturing. I tell you, man, you're not stupid until you're negotiating against Koreans and Taiwanese, man. Those guys had me coming and going up one side and down the other. But that's what I did it for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's to learn. And to learn to finance, learn how to factor, how to ship and then factor my inventory and all this stuff. And I learned so much as I was going broke, successfully going broke. And so when I explain to young people, that's what I did it for. That's how you get smarter. But in this academic culture, we're just talking about Jordan Peterson, how he rails up against academics. Well, in the academic culture, the person who makes the most mistakes is a stupid person. But an entrepreneur, the person that makes the most mistakes and learns from them is the rich person. So I always say to young entrepreneurs, it's not money will never make you rich. It's your experience, how much you learn, the mistakes you make, the people you make. And although there's horrible experiences, they're all good experiences if you learn from them.
Sure.
And that's the attitudinal difference of an entrepreneur. Most guys are small business guys, they're not entrepreneurs. They open a pizza shop to make money and they get stuck in that pizza shop forever. Well, that's not me. And the subject of entrepreneur is a massive subject. So you got a drug dealer peddling drugs is also an entrepreneur, as is Jeff Bezos, running the biggest product pushing company in the whole world. They're both entrepreneurs. But the gap between the drug dealer and Bezos, massive. So when I speak to young people, I say, what kind of entrepreneur do you want to be? And if you're just here to make money, since you can do that, but it's not exciting. I'm trying to explain to you, when they tell you get out of debt, that's stupid because the money is debt. And the only way money gets out of debt is via taxes. So all the people who work for money, you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's lesson number one?
Rich people don't work for money.
Correct. Money is debt. I use debt as money. And everybody thinks getting in debt is bad. Well, who told you that? I think the stock market is for losers. Why would you put money in the stock market when it's manipulated? That's what I think about. So I'm always watching the manipulation going on behind the scenes. That's what my brain is focusing on all the time. And I don't pay taxes. The question is, how is it I don't pay taxes? And I can tell you. That's an important question. Because most Romanians and most people in the United States cheat on their taxes because they hate taxes so much. But you don't have to cheat on taxes if you understood how money was working. You think Donald Trump pays taxes? No.
Nobody has seen his tax returns.
Yeah, I know him. He's my friend. We don't pay taxes. That's the question. How is it we do that? That's an intelligent question. The reason you can't ask me this question because you don't know how I do it.
That's why I keep saying to the millennials, they're a pack of wimps. I meet millennials who are just horrifyingly weak. Snowflakes, I call them. They go to college and
doormats.
They're taught trigger events or whatever, you know, I don't know what they say today, but they've got to have special rooms where there's no whatever. I'm going, holy mackerel. Welcome to the real world, you know? And there's other millennials who are as tough as nails. I mean, this is the biggest opportunity they've ever had.
Right now, the book I'm reading is a personal development book. It's called Happiness Morning. That's number one. And the second book is called The Miracle Morning and Happiness Advantage. One's written by a Harvard teacher, The Happiness Advantage, fantastic book. And the other book is Miracle Morning, written by an entrepreneur. And they say the same things, but in different ways. So I read both of them 3 times because they're so powerful. But I'm working on me. You see, the economy out there is just the economy. If you think it's a bad economy, it's because your bad economy is here. If you think it's, you know, those jobs are tough, that's because that's you in here. And as any entrepreneur knows, it's always a good economy. No matter which way it's going, I can always make some money. It's always good. It's always opportunity. So I've got to protect the spirit or the entrepreneurial mindset inside of me. So when the markets crash, I make more money. Unfortunately, for the average person without financial education, the guy who invested for the long term, for job security, their house is an asset and all that stuff, they got wiped out. That's what happened in 2007 right here. They got wiped out by the crash and others got richer by the crash. And that's the difference.
People trying to do good by educating outside of the traditional school system where I think they're more limited.
Correct. And that's why I created the cash flow board game, is because I learned about money playing. I learned about money playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
I learned more about life playing Monopoly than I did in 4 years of college.
Yeah.
I went to a really good school, you know, the best schools in the world, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. And I came out a rich man, but it didn't teach me much about money. I was only a high-paid employee.
I just think about the economy, business, world affairs. My job is to make complex financial systems simple enough so the average person can understand it. That is extremely difficult because most people are brainwashed when it comes to money. Go to school, get a job, work hard, pay your taxes, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. Everybody who follows that program has been brainwashed. I don't even care about money. I make a lot of money because I understand the system. I would never go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. I do everything exactly opposite. Several things that I find, one more time, second book, Cash Flow Quadrant, ES. On the right side is B and I. And that's where guys like Mark Cuban and Damon Johns come from. You know, they're professional investors. They acquire companies, they finance companies. They have what's called family offices, not home businesses or home offices. They're family offices. So I have a family office. So when I was a young man, my rich dad said to me, someday you want a family office. I said, what does that mean? I got an office. He goes, no. It's where you have a whole team of people moving your money for you because you got so much money coming in. Say too much money is a problem also because you got to keep moving it. So I have a family office, and that was part of the whole process of becoming rich, was so I could learn to have a family office. And the average guy has a 401k. Why am I kicking his butt? I don't care if he went to Harvard. You know, I'll kick his butt up one side and down the other, making millions, not paying taxes, but keep moving my money.
I don't have a job. I've only had one job. And I never wanted a job after that because I had to be hungry. Not to say, you know, but we're all different. We're humans, we're different beings. If I show you this diagram here, you know, it's why I created my cash flow board game. Because we have 4 different intelligences. We have mental intelligence. We have, I don't know what that one is, physical intelligence. You probably have very good physical to make, you know, football and all that.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, but spiritual intelligence. So I went to military school in New York. The first thing is spiritual. You know, I become a Marine. It's spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're putting your life on the frickin' line.
Yeah.
You know, so Nassim Taleb, you know, wrote the book, The Black Swan. He also wrote Anti-Fragile. He says there's 3 kinds of people in the world. There's fragile, and that's what our school systems are putting out. Fragile, wimpy, snowflakes. And that's your choice. You want to be that way? Have a good life. The second type is that, so a fragile is like a champagne flute.
Yep.
You hit it, it shatters. Then the second one is called robust. And a robust person is like the rock. You know, you can pound on them, dump on them.
Yeah.
They take it. But that's all they do. They take it. And then anti-fragile is somebody like you, where they pound the crap out of you, and you get smarter and better because of it. So I love Nassim Taleb. You know, a lot of people call him Dr. Doom. But the way I look at this whole thing, this economy is, we're probably going into a depression. You know, we're not going to get out of this one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And so the thing is this good for you or bad for you? I'm looking forward to it. You know, the last crash was 2008. And I made more money in 2008 than in my whole life. So this one here, 2000, you know, what is it, 2020? I'm going to get even richer. But other people are going to get poor. And if they're baby boomers, they're going to blame it on this coronavirus. Oh, my health, you know, hey, hit the road, put on some running shoes, change your diet, get some sunlight, you know, get healthy. Don't be a wimp. But, oh, no, I'm so afraid of dying. I'm going, you're already dead. You don't even know it yet. You know, in the Marine Corps, we used to call them corpse people.
Right. Corpse, not core, yeah.
A corpseman. No, a corpseman. A corpseman is a person who's dead but doesn't know it.
What should the people understand about this way of living? Because we cannot all be entrepreneurs. Some people need to get some jobs. Or should we all try and look at how we can change our lives in the way you show it in your books and your keynotes?
It's up to the person. It's up to the person. It's a free choice. You want to be an employee, you choose to be an employee. You want to be an entrepreneur, you choose to be an entrepreneur, but you've got to study. They're two different people. What you have to study is different. Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, they're different people. An entrepreneur is extremely different than an employee. But it's a different study. The trouble is our school system trains us to be employees. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay your taxes, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. That makes you poor. The biggest thing for an entrepreneur is you've got to learn how to make mistakes. And the school punishes you for making mistakes. Second, you have to operate in a team. You know, everybody talks about team, except in school. If you take tests as a team, you're called cheaters.
Yeah.
So just those two mind constructs. The average guy goes out there afraid of making a mistake and starts a business and they make mistakes, obviously. Then they don't have a team.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. If you want 10 more amazing rules from Robert Kiyosaki, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
All you entrepreneurs out there, that cell phone is your lifeline out of this mess. Use it.
If you do not change that talk in your head, you'll always be the poor person.